Chapter 214. Again. 2004. Finally made it home again. A new start. A new beginning again. On my own again. Figure it out. That's life. 33 years old. No assets. No credit. No kids. No wife. Everything confiscated again. Most of my money went to lawyers again. They were getting rich off of us. Seems like we were hustling for 12. Seems like we hustled to pay their tuitions, mortgages, investments. We hustling for them. Without us, prosecutors, judges, lawyers, POs, and cops would need new professions. Without us, they would get no overtime or pensions. Seems like the world would be better off without us. But meanwhile, they just simply waited for us to fuck up again. I was in the exact same position that I was in 10 years prior when I came home from Lawton in 1994. I was in the exact same position that I was in 3 years prior in 2001 when I came home from Lawton again. I had served 13 and a half years in prison in the last 15. I was wasting my life making bad decisions and mistakes over and over again. I decided to take a break from the streets and get a job because my club investment also fell apart when the club owner was arrested on money laundering charge. Nothing was working, but I had to keep trying. I had to keep grinding. It was the only way out, or the only way in again. By getting a job, I would remove myself totally from the illegal activities and the mindset for at least 8 hours a day. I got an apartment again. I had to get new clothes again. New furniture again. Still had a little money in my pistols though, and my reputation was intact, so I didn't have to chase away the rats again. My brain was loaded with creative thoughts and seemed to be at peace with my job. Only issue was the minuscule pay. But I was able to design a prototype for a video game that I envisioned. Then I bought a custom-built computer for over $4,000 with the animated graphic program that was used to make the Lord of the Rings movie franchise. The program alone cost $20,000, but I had gotten it on a 5-finger discount. The program came with a book the size of an encyclopedia. I had a lot of studying to do because I really wanted to get into editing, graphics, and animation. I also started producing my own music, designing clothes and sneakers again. I even designed a few automobiles. I got more t-shirts, hats, and sweaters made with the Gunplay AK-47 logo again. They were again selling as fast as I could make them. Within a few months, everything was back in order until I got into an altercation with one of the supervisors at my place of employment and got fired again. I decided that the 9-to-5 thing wasn't for me, so I focused on starting my own business doing fashion designing and editing. The clothes were selling, but my audience was limited. I needed marketing and advertising muscle to push it nationwide. I was threatening store owners over shelf and rack positioning. I was in a new field but found myself employing the same gangster tactics again. My unpredictable temper and circle of killers were enough to get window placements, but it wasn't enough to get mass sales. The slow money was becoming frustrating. I started to lose patience again. Chapter 215. Self. I was still dealing with my addiction of being an outlaw. It was like being addicted to heroin or crack. It kept calling me even when I didn't listen. I had no excuse though. I wasn't in anymore. I was out now. Time is undefeated. I was getting older and older by the day and feeling older and older by the night. In prison, we fantasize about becoming successful as soon as we come home. We have a million ideas in prison with the plans to accomplish them as soon as we touch down. We touch down and rush towards the goal as if we have a time limit. As if we have to beat the 10-minute move. As if we have a release date. Rushing. Speedballing. Trying to do everything as fast as possible because psychologically we were prepared to die or go back to prison at any moment, so we needed to do as much as we could do as fast as we could. We seemed to look at society as an extension of the penitentiary. It was just a bigger penitentiary with more responsibilities, more suckers and more weapons. The prison mentality seemed to infest the brain to the point that the brain struggled to transition into freedom. A lot of us are institutionalized. We all needed to see a psych. We all needed therapy. My dreams were of becoming a filmmaker. I had no idea on how to become a filmmaker and knew of no one that made films. I didn't know how to write a screenplay. I didn't know how to use a camera. I didn't know how to cast and I didn't know how to edit. But one thing I did know is I wanted to become a filmmaker. My ideas seemed inconceivable and definitely unreachable until I saw it from the perspective of being a defendant, and no matter what the charge or the potential sentence was, every case was beatable. With that mentality, I said anything is achievable. I could start out regional. It's feasible. I saw things from the angle where others believed it was unbelievable. I could use this as a teachable vehicle in my life's sequel. It was foreseeable and hopefully repeatable. Most of my ideas were legal, some illegal. Legal first, if that fails, illegal would be my crutch. My thoughts of going straight and towing the line was minuscule because of my rebellious nature. Every law set was a law to be broken. They were written by men and most men didn't deserve respect, so his policies were obsolete, broken. I was addicted to the high of getting fast money. It took the stress away. The stress of struggling and the reality of being a failure. The possible reality of that I would never be successful at anything in life. Just a ship with no rudder being tossed around by the wind. Whichever way the wind blew is where I ended up. A lost soul searching for happiness. Walking through a dark tunnel with my hands on the wall searching for something. Anything. Anything that made sense towards something. Anything positive that I could direct my energy towards. Sometimes feeling like anything. The thought of never ever being successful at anything is a thought that most men avoided. That's not a thought for the weak. It was a thought of a lion. A thought that forced the canine to use his K or his 9 or just focus harder, think farther past the corner and use his canines. The job showed me that the US government were the real gangsters, not me. I was on Uncle Sam unreasonable amounts of cash for no reason whatsoever. He wanted in on every penny, every purchase, every sale. He took a cut from every trade. He took a cut from what I was paid, then took a cut from every time I spent money from what he already took a cut from. I was a slave. I even had to pay him for things that I owned, things that I rent, things that I bought, things that I sold. Felt like I was being took, slim, led astray, run amok, bamboozled, hoodwinked. To offset my extortion, I had to find write-offs. This was why people were in love with illegal activities, because you saw all the fruits of your labor. The feeling of freedom is, you make $500, you kept $500. You owed no one nothing. The irony was the freedom could lead to a loss of freedom, and taxes was lawyer money. A confused state. They had us in a bind. How could we escape? It wasn't long before I was back breaking the law, and it felt beautiful yet contradictory. I loved the rewards but hated the risk. Loved freedom but did everything to lose it. Institutionalized yet hated prison. I rationalized my thoughts by being philosophical towards the law, because technically nothing yet everything could be considered legal or illegal. It was only considered illegal or legal if a group of men decided it was illegal or legal. The same group of men could change their minds at any moment depending on their emotions or ideological stance, so their decisions or indecisions on specific activities were obsolete. False. To me, it was only illegal if you were caught. Being rebellious was my calling. Seemed appalling. I was going all in. Fuck it, I was back balling. Damn. But I heard and also knew that the FBI and the local cops were keeping a close eye on me with informants and surveillance. It was common sense. After all, I was back in society after serving time on 2 attempted murders, shooting at a cop in a gun case, beating a federal gun case, possession of ecstasy, 2 murder cases, and ducking a 53-count RICO indictment. Not to mention the Benny Lawson situation and all the demonstrations in Lawton, the feds, Youngstown, Ohio, Sussex, and Red Onion. Not to mention chasing rats away, moving keys of E, and a few shootouts. These were all federal cases being beaten, with their 98.9 conviction rates. I was fucking up their statistics. I was fucking up their case. I was public enemy number 1, but I was playing Russian roulette with multiple bullets in the chambers. It was an informant in my circle, and I could feel it. I was in danger. Somebody knew we had guns on us in the Green Jaguar, and that we were in the cops' jurisdiction, and alerted them. Somebody was giving them up-to-date details on my movements. The robbery of a white woman was made up. But who made it up? That was something I needed to know. I subtly questioned everyone without getting to a conclusion. I couldn't pinpoint who was the informant in my circle. Whoever it is left no tracks and kept their poker face solid. The worst part about it is, I might end up dealing with the same person again because I didn't know who it was. Damn, what to do? As an ambivert/introvert, I only consulted with my brother. But this was not possible because he was still in Florence Supermax in Colorado, so I only consulted with myself. Consulting with an irrational self. A self that didn't fear death or jail. A self full of faults. A self full of excuses. A reckless self. A suicidal self. A self that no one understood. A self that didn't even understand itself. The self full of mistakes said, "Cock the guns back, get money," while the rational self said, "No, try something else." The irrational was boss. The rational self lost.